Hi firecrackers! Welcome back to episode 12, and I have a very special guest with me, Jenell. And she's just been such a great friend to me, and I'm just so happy to have her here with me on today's podcast. Today's episode is about guarding your heart, and so I'm just so happy that we're getting to spend time with each other and that God made a way for us to do a podcast together. So yeah, I want to turn to Proverbs 4:23. And we have our Bibles. If you have your Bibles, flip to Proverbs 23. She can read it from the NLT version, and then I'll read mine from the NIV version.
Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life.
Wow, that is so powerful. That means so much. And then I'm going to read it from the NIV version. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So both of those scriptures are the same. Like, it's both Proverbs 4:23, but just in different translations. And what do you think it means for us to guard our heart?
I think it means for us to protect it from things that shouldn't go in, from things that we shouldn't be doing, basically. Not allowing anything that isn't of God or anything that doesn't please God. Like, not allowing our hearts to get attached to things that are temporary.
Wow, that is so amazing. Not letting your heart to get attached to things temporary. Like, for example, if you're worried about your career or your future, those things are only temporary. So it's like we should guard our hearts in those things. And not saying that we can't have aspirations, that we can't have goals, but just saying don't let your heart to get more attached to things here on this earth, like worldly things that are gonna fade, but more so letting your heart stay attached to God, because I think one of the greatest attacks of the enemy, at least for this generation, is distractions. He likes to distract us. He likes us to not think about God. Obviously, like, get consumed with social media, get consumed with things of this world rather than on God. And that's why I think it's just so important that we kind of have a balance of both, but obviously letting Jesus be the center of our lives, of our thoughts, of our actions, of our motives. So I think that's so amazing about just guarding your heart. And an illustration that my sister said that she heard someone say is when we think about a guard, like if you have a bodyguard, they are to protect that person. So God is commanding us to guard our own hearts, being mindful of our time on socials, being mindful of what we're allowing to come into our hearts, what we're allowing to come into our minds, to our spirits, because our eyes are eye gates, our ears are ear gates, and it could just be easier, I feel like, for the enemy to attack us when we're not on guard,
Yeah.
And that's why we have our breastplate of righteousness on, because it's not our righteousness, but it's the righteousness of God, and just living every day to try to please Him and honor Him. So I think that is so important. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
I think
guarding your heart.
Something that hopefully got revealed to me yesterday is that righteousness is the thing that guards our heart, because when we practice righteousness, it's more likely for us to not get into things that we shouldn't get into, not having our heart chase after
like things of this world, like lustfulness, sin, pride, all that stuff.
Yeah. So righteousness is what shields our heart from that.
That's so good. And how do you think that they can live to be righteous? What does it mean to be righteous?
Well, for Christians, it's really believing in Jesus and being saved, because He's the only way we can be righteous.
That's right with God, and that's what righteousness means, right?
But practicing it is being obedient to God's commands and living a pure life and having a genuine heart towards God.
I like that. And I guess the last thing that I'll say is what do you think are 3 practical ways that youth, this is on the spot, guys, just like I did with my sister, 3 ways that you feel the youth can guard their heart, everyday lives, you know?
Being more careful on what they view on social media for sure, or just on the internet in general. Mindless
scrolling is so real. It's a thing, guys. I'll put the definition on the screen, but it's scary. Like, just mindless scrolling. Wow. So I think, like you're saying, like limiting screen time and being careful and mindful of what you're watching and what you're allowing to come into your spirit. And then, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
Fine.
But something that God had revealed to me is that our screen time and our phone time is like here. It's way up here. But our Bible time and spending time with the Lord is like down here. It's really low. So it's like, God, help us to be able to have some more time with you rather than being on our phones or being on things that separates us from you or distracts us from you. So it should be like, I feel like kind of a balance, or I feel like God should definitely be the highest for sure. So yeah. So what do you think is the second point?
Who you hang around with, being careful with who you hang around with for sure. Because nowadays we're so, like, we want to be loved by everyone, but at the same time,
like,
there's so much hate and so many bad things that are in people's hearts nowadays that we need to be careful who we're hanging out with, and who we do hang out with, we need to be a light to them.
Right. So definitely having those godly connections. That's why I'm so grateful to God that He gave me Jenell, because she is definitely such a godly friend. And even if you don't have a godly friend yet, just know that God is your friend. God's your best friend. You can call on Him on any time of the day, you know, any hour, and He's gonna answer you. You know, and so yeah, I think having godly friends is really, really important, especially being, you know, Gen Z, because there's so many people that obviously aren't Christians now. You know, so many people in sin. So to have people that think like you and, you know, have that same goal of following Jesus is so important, because you are who you hang around. My mom would always say, like, you know, one bad apple spoils the bunch. So it's like, it's so important that we are being that light and that we do have a godly community, whether that be at church or at school, wherever. Having that godly community is important.
Maybe we should seek more guidance, because we feel like we can do everything on our own. We're so like being our own person and like practicing just things that isn't true, because the world tells us like that we don't need to listen to anyone, to follow our own rules and stuff like that. But we need help. We need guidance from people that are wiser than us and from God Himself. And I feel like that's something that is taking so many people away from God, that they think they can do it all on their own. They're so self-dependent and they don't want anything else. They want to follow their own way. And that's pride.
Wow. So that's so crazy. Following your own way is pride. But you're so right, this world is such a self. It's so me. Like, I'm gonna get the bag. I'm gonna do this all by myself. I don't need any help. I don't, you know, but saying like, no, you do need that guidance from obviously like a trusted leader or a friend or somebody that can help you on this journey with God, because you definitely can't do it alone. This walk with God, the spiritual warfare, the attacks, you are gonna need help, and obviously we need to rely on God and also have those people to help. So I think that's amazing points, guys. I hope that you guys were able to learn from this episode. I pray to God that this blessed you, because it for sure blessed me just to have that wisdom and about guarding our heart. And I'm just grateful for obviously her saying yes to be on this podcast today. And I just pray that if it did bless you, don't forget to subscribe, to like, to comment, because I really do want to build a community of fire on people that are fire for God. So I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.